Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to You Can Talk. My name is Ruth Finney, and I am here this morning to talk about no opting out. This is a communication channel, and it is all about communicating and talking your way to healthier relationships. If you're struggling in your relationship, struggling to communicate, struggling to stay together, struggling to figure things out, struggling to figure out who is for you and how do you choose that person and how do you work through difficult things and all that stuff, this is the channel for you. This is the channel you've been looking for. So hit that subscribe button and join this talk family and pick up little things that you can do to incorporate into your life the same day at the time that you hear it so that you will know what you can do, that you will know some things that you can do. Um, Relationships can be a struggle, but they do not have to be if we equip ourselves with the tools that we need in order to learn how to do it better. And that's what I share on this channel. I share my personal experiences, my personal lessons learned, to help people figure out, how to improve theirs. Good morning, Rashika Conyers. How are you? Good to see you this morning. Welcome, welcome. Chef BC Cherry Bliss, good to see you. Welcome in this morning. I appreciate you being here. I know that it is Thanksgiving week and a lot of people are home and sleeping in and, just really being thankful for the time that they may have off, and other people like me are going into work. So whatever it is you're doing, thank you for just giving me this time and taking the time to listen and work on your relationship. So forgive me, this morning I wanted to talk about not opting out. um, in today's society, we have a really bad habit of running at the first sign of trouble. And I know that it can, feel daunting sometimes when issues come and they cause fear within us. And we can immediately begin to think, oh, I don't, this is a problem. Let me go ahead and get out before things get worse. Or, we feel like we see the writing on the wall. So we want to go ahead, and opt out of trying to work through things. We want to go ahead and get divorced. We want to go ahead and separate. We want to go ahead and, just take the person out of our lives. And part of that is because in this day, I feel like we relationships really struggle with having tenacity. We don't have any tenacity in our relationships. Like I said, we want to run at the first sign of trouble, and instead of hunkering down. Back in the day, when our grandparents or great grandparents, or maybe even just your parents, would have trouble come their way, it wasn't a sign for them to run and get out. Like that usually typically was not the first option in their mind. It usually was what they used to come together, right? To bring themselves together and to say, okay, we got this issue before us. We got to get through this. How are we going to get this done? What do you have? Here's your resources. Here's my resources. What are your thoughts? Here are my thoughts. What can we do to try to work through this or overcome this situation? They sort of joined forces anytime there were issues that popped up, and not run, right? They weren't like, well, I'm done, or I'm checking out, or you deal with that, right? Like we do today. We want to run from the situation, get away from it. We don't want to face it because number one, it scares us, it's hard, and a lot of times we don't think we're going to make it through it anyway. So why put ourselves through that, right? We're trying to save our hearts, we're trying to save ourselves some mental anguish, and so we want to opt out at the first sign of trouble. But we got to change that mentality if we're going to try to build lasting relationships. If you want to have that 10, 20, 30-year marriage, or if you want to get to a place where you even feel like you can be married, or you want to just learn how to make a relationship last, be with somebody for more than a couple of months, then we have to work at building tenacity in our relationship. So how do we do that, right? How do we do that? Well, it starts with what we think about relationships, and in general, because a lot of times there are hidden things in our minds that um, that sort of relate to how we feel about relationships. Good morning, aka James Money 615. Good to see you this morning. Welcome, welcome. And if you don't know what you think about a relationship, then start, or how you came to your thoughts about a relationship. Sit down and start thinking about, why do I feel the way I feel? Like how did I develop this mentality about relationships? And it can be a number of different things, but make it personal to you. Make it personal to you. If you have this mentality of feeling like relationships don't last, marriages don't last, I'm not getting married because marriages don't last. Maybe you feel that way because no one has ever stayed married, right? No one in your environment, nobody in your circle, no one that has been in a lasting relationship, and so that affects your mentality of what you think about marriage. Or maybe you do think that marriage can last because you know people, right? You know neighbors, you know family members, maybe your own parents, or somebody in your inner circle that you interact with on a daily basis have been able to stay married. And so you believe that it's possible, but maybe you just struggle with believing that it's possible for you, right? Or to be in a long term relationship. Maybe you feel like all men and women cheat, right? If you're a man or whatever, if you're a woman, you feel like other people cheat. And maybe you feel that way because you've always been cheated on, right? You've never been in a relationship that you haven't been cheated on. And so you feel like it's just a part of life, and that's the way things have to be. Well, or maybe you feel like all people don't cheat because you're not a cheater, right? And certainly you're not an island, and there are other people out there in the world who don't cheat. You can't be alone. So maybe you feel like not all men and women cheat, but start thinking about why you feel the way you feel about certain things when it comes to relationships. Maybe you feel like communication is hard because you've always struggled communicating with your partners or with your spouse. You've never been able to communicate well. Maybe you feel like that one book they have, women are from Mars, men are from Venus, and we don't speak the same language, and so it's impossible to learn how to communicate. So maybe you develop that, and so that develops how you show up in the relationship. It changes, it affects how you are willing to even speak towards the person that you're with, because you feel like they're not going to understand you anyway, because we don't speak the same language. So hey, thanks, how are you? Good to see you, good to see you. Thank you. I hope it's a good topic. I hope that something resonates with people. um, or and sometimes we get to a place where we think relationships are difficult because we don't like the work that comes with being in a relationship, or we don't like the expectations that we have to deal with when being in a relationship. So all these things affect our mentality when trouble comes, right? So, and we want to opt out. It's like, you know what, I'm done with this, I don't have to deal with this, I don't even want to touch this, I don't want to work through this. But if we want our relationship to last, like I say, we have to learn to build some tenacity in our relationships. The bottom line is trouble is going to come. A lot of people think that just because if you want a long, healthy, happy, lasting relationship, that means that that's a relationship without trouble, a relationship without struggle. And that's just not the truth. The bottom line is you're going to have struggle. There's going to be some deterioration somewhere in the relationship. And what you want to do is find a partner who you can work with to help overcome those struggles. You want somebody that has that same mentality that I want. Are you team opt out? You can't be on team opt out, Jeff. I'm trying to get you off of team opt out and put you on team opt in. I'm going to opt in for this because We know that there are blessings and there's goodness on the other side, right? But what happens is we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to try to work to get to the other side of the thing, because we're so busy thinking that things are always ever only ever going to get worse, that things couldn't possibly get better. But when we allow ourselves to try to work through things and overcome things, we realize that our relationships can actually get stronger. We create more love. We create more faith and trust in our partners. We develop a sense of closeness and intimacy that we didn't realize that we could have, because now we've overcome something together. Like, we've learned some new things about each other that we didn't realize existed within us. Okay, so then, but we can't get to that space, right? We can't get to the fruit, we can't get to the garden of goodness on the other side, because we're not willing to put in the work and overcome the struggles, right? We're not willing to face the storms. We're not willing to, dig a little deeper into those areas that are hard for us to dig into, because we don't want to. We don't want to. We don't want to have to, and we don't feel like we should have to. And, we think it should be easy, right? If this was right, if this was the right person, if this was the right relationship, things would be easy. But that's just not the truth. That's not the truth. You're going to deal with some stuff. You're going to. And what makes it easy is when we go ahead and develop that mindset of, we can get through this. This is going to be something that we're going to have to work through, but we can get through it. So let's just, rather than fighting each other about it, let's figure out how we can work together and get to the other side of it. And the more you develop that mentality, the faster you all go into work mode, and the faster you get to the other side. But when you're busy fighting it, all you're doing is prolonging the struggle. You're prolonging the struggle. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So, how do we change our thinking? Because that's the challenging part, right? How do we change that thinking when we've been thinking the way we've been thinking our whole lives? How do we start doing that? So, when we want to change, we have to challenge those thoughts. We have to challenge those thoughts of what we think. And the way we do that is by collecting evidence to support that change, right? So here's what I mean by that. So if you want to develop a thought process that marriage can last, and that divorce does not have to be my inevitable, you know, demise, or if you want to think that I can be in this relationship is going to last longer than, 6 months or a year, or whatever um, whatever my typical relationships last, because you can say, because now I have more tools, I have more resources at my disposal to be able to help me to get through these difficult times. Back in the day, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they didn't have resources. They had maybe the Bible, they had God. If they were lucky, they had people surrounding them who got through some stuff. But we have so much at our disposal. We have the whole world at our disposal. You have this channel at your disposal to be able to pick up some little tools and some things that we can do. Learn how to communicate better. We have counseling online. We have relationship channels, and we have the word, and we have a whole world of resources and support groups and all kinds of stuff that we can use, books and that we can use to help improve our marriages and our communication and our relationships and how we talk and how we move and how we are. We have so much at our disposal that they didn't even have, and they made it through way worse things than we did, way worse things. So that's part of the reason. So now we're collecting evidence that, hey, I have more stuff. Yes, and we need to utilize them, and we need to utilize them. Then maybe if you are of the mentality that you feel like, all men cheat or all women cheat, uh, you can say, develop that mentality that no, they don't, because I don't have that mentality of feeling like I want to cheat on my spouse, or that I want to cheat on my partner, the person that I'm with, or step out on them. I don't have that mentality, and I know that there are other people out there too. And if you can't find them, go on social media, right? Go on social media, because there are a ton of people, support groups, and people who just feel certain ways about things, and they develop their own groups, because there is strength in community. There's strength in a tribe. There's strength in finding people, who are like-minded, in the ways that can help support you. If you want to, develop a thinking that communication is not hard, communication does not have to be difficult. We can do that because we can think that way, and we can collect evidence by that, because when we take time to pick up some new tools and some new things, and to learn some stuff that we implement, and we see it improve, we know that it's possible, right? If you've learned something and you've incorporated it into your relationship, and it worked out for you, then boom, you have some evidence that, hey, you know what? A week ago I didn't know that, but last week I learned that, and I used it, and it made a difference, right? No matter how small, no matter how small, because often it's the smallest changes, the smallest things that we do, that can have the greatest impact on our relationships, like just saying thank you, right? Just developing a little gratitude, just not being quick to say something, back, or say something ugly, and trying to keep and finding that, oh, when we do that, we're able to keep a little peace in the house, right? Just different things. Or when I change my tone, when I change the way I said that, when I listened, when I waited to say this, instead of just saying something immediately, I noticed that there was a difference in how they responded, right? So it's those little things that we do that can often have the greatest impact on our relationships. So communication doesn't have to be hard when we take time to learn and develop new ways to do it better. Okay. Maybe if we want to develop a mentality that relationships don't have to be difficult, when we seek God in seeking our partners, right? Because maybe we have a history of being with people, that we liked, but just because they were fun, or because they were entertaining, or because they made us laugh, because they were handsome, or they were beautiful, um and we were attracted to them, and so we would just get into relationships with them, and whatever happened because it looked good, it felt good, and so that was what we did. But it turned out not to be good. So God help me with tone, timing, and intent. Yes, it is. And those are the biggest things. Those are the biggest things that can be the biggest walls in our relationships. But maybe we can change our tone when we're willing to change our mentality about an issue. Often we speak sharply to the person because we feel that they don't listen, or we talk ugly to them, or we're loud about it because we feel that they can't hear, or they are, or they are, not paying attention, or whatever it is, right? We change the way we do things based on how we feel that they're going to react. But if we change our thinking about how they will react, then we're more willing to try something different in a different way. Okay. Um, and then if you want to develop, like I said, that maybe you have this mentality that you're not built for being in a relationship. Like, maybe, I know I've had that thought, right? Maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm just not built to be married. Maybe I'm not built to be in a relationship. But when I wanted to change that, I had to remember that God created me for relationship. God created us to be in relationships with others. It was not that He created us to be by ourselves. Otherwise, He would not have put other people in the world. If not, He would not have said, be fruitful and multiply, um, and because He wanted us to be in relationships with others. Therefore, He's telling us that it's possible. You all need each other. You need to depend on each other. You all need to use the resources that I put in each and every one of you, and work together so that y'all can accomplish great things. And when we do that, we do amazing things in the world. And when we don't, we see destruction. We cause destruction. So that's another reason to, support evidence of why we need to know that we are capable, that it is possible for us to be in a good relationship. Yes, he did for the relationship. Yes, for the relationship. Come on now. So, this is how we change our this is how we start to build tenacity when we automatically put ourselves in the thought process that it is possible for us to overcome this. We run into relationship walls because we believe that we can't overcome it. um, and that whatever the issue is, this is the thing that's stopping us from moving forward. But if we change that belief system, then what that does is it gives us permission to be willing to try. Okay, when we change our thought process that this doesn't have to be our end, this situation, this struggle we have does not have to be what causes us to end, then we give ourselves permission to try something different, or to try something new, or to try something at all. So, and then that allows us the opportunity to be able to see results. We begin leaning on our faith, we begin leaning into what we believe in. And when we do that, those are the things that manifest. It's often what we believe and what we speak that manifests in our life. So if we believe that our communication is a struggle with our partners, then guess what? It's going to be a struggle because that's already what we believe. That's already our intention. And that's what we put out. That's what we put out when we're speaking to them. But when we believe that our communication doesn't have to be a struggle, that we can communicate well, then we start talking to our partners differently, and therefore they respond differently. And then we start seeing different results. Okay. So that's why it's important for us to build this tenacity, for us to change our thought process, and for us to begin believing differently than what we think. And the only way that we can do that is by figuring out what we think, and then challenge those thoughts to show evidence to support the opposite, right? Because that's what the enemy does. The enemy is always going to plant things in our head to make us think that something is not possible. We are the ones that have to do our due diligence to say, no, this is possible. And this is how I know that it's possible. This is why I know that it's possible. And this is why this is going to happen. We're not going to be that statistic. We're not going to be that couple that doesn't last. I'm not going to be, you know, another number in what doesn't work, right? So, but in order to do that, I have to be willing to change my thought process so I can change my moves and my words, and then I can start seeing some change. And that's what I want for you all. So, and that's how we develop relationship. The reason they were able to overcome, right? We shall overcome, we shall, be able to do great things, is because they believed that they could. They believed that it was possible, and they didn't let anything stop them from accomplishing that and from showing the world that. And we have to be that way with our relationships. We have to be that way in our marriages. We have to believe that there is nothing that can come into this household, that can come into this marriage, no outside entity, no outside person can cause this thing to break up, right? We're a team, we're in this bubble, and we're going to join forces, and we are a force that's greater than any force that's coming against us. Okay. And when we develop, that's how we start developing tenacity. Good morning, Angie, in real life. Good to see you. Good to see you this morning. Welcome in. So that's what I wanted to share with you all. Just some encouragement that of how to build some tenacity in your relationship, to know that we need it, and to know that it's possible, and to learn how to get it, how to develop it. And it starts with one thought change at a time. Don't try to change everything about your thinking. That's kind of hard to do. Figure out one thing that you can change, that you need to change your thought process about, and focus on that one thing at a time. Right? We overwhelm ourselves with thinking, yes, no outside influences, absolutely, because that's what's always going to try to come against us. We can change the world when our relationships are strong. We can change our families. We can change those generational curses. We can stop bad things from happening when we change our thought processes and build our tenacity. We are benefiting today off the tenacity of our ancestors, right? The freedoms, the luxuries, all the stuff that we get to have and experience today are off the backs of the tenacity of our ancestors. And so we have to develop that so that we have something to give our generations forward. If you want to improve the relationships of your children, if you want to improve the relationships of your grandchildren, then you got to start putting some tenacity in your own relationship so that they know what that looks like, so that they have something to glean off of. But if you opt out, then there's nothing for them to see. They have no reason to think that they can expect anything different. And so lean on what you've learned, lean on what you know can be, and just trust in it and have faith in it. Trust in it and have faith in it, and start to, give yourself the permission to face the wall, to face the challenge, and to say, okay, this is not good. This is not what we want. But let's figure out how we can do this. And this is what I'm willing to do. Ask your partner what they're willing to do, and begin doing those things on a consistent basis, right? Because we'll do something for a little while, but then we get tired or we lose faith or we're not seeing the change fast enough. And so again, we opt out. Okay. So build that tenacity. Like, no matter what, we're not going to stop. We're not going to quit until we get this thing right. Okay. We're not going to give up on trying to be better, to make this thing better until, uh, until we see some change. And I guarantee you, God will show up. God will show up. He will bless that thing. He will touch it, and you'll see some change. And then you'll start feeling good. And be like, well, what else can we tackle? Right? What else can we tackle? What other issues are we facing? Right? And it gives you confidence to work on that next thing and that next thing and that next thing. And before you know it, your marriage has become, and your relationship has become, the thing that everybody wants. Right? I want that. I want what y'all have. I want what y'all have. I want to be able to, love this way and experience this way, and to trust this way, and to all that. And they don't know that the reason you all are able to do that is because y'all develop some tenacity, right? Y'all learn to get through some struggles, and then you can share that with them, and you pour into them, and you give them the tools so that they can overcome and do what they need to do. All right. So keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Overcome those walls, overcome those struggles, and develop that relationship that you desire, and develop that relationship and that marriage that you deserve, that God created you for. All right. So I'm going to head on into work. I will probably be on some more times this week. And I hope to see you all again soon. I love y'all. Y'all have a phenomenal day. And, happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you all before then. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Bye bye.